Yes, everyone, you read it right. It's Unfixable. Its biggest problem simply cannot be solved, but I'm actually not being a doomer. I've come to realize that's great news, both for key pushers and dungeon dodgers, because nobody's happy, and we finally see it. Across this season, we have seen hours of videos from big names. It started with Automatic Jacks, Blizzard needs to rethink Mythic Plus. Then there was Quasi's, why Mythic Plus is not fun right now. And then there was Liquid Max's, it's time to rework Mythic Plus, and a PodEC episode called Is Mythic Plus Dying? That's literally hours of discussion over the biggest issues facing the game mode. Affixes, pugging, spec imbalance, difficulty, gearing, and that's just to name a few. Now, these doomsayers are all World of Warcraft elite, they're key pushers, they're mythic raiders, so it could be easy for people who aren't that to think, oh, it's just top-end complaints, they don't apply. But nah, they're right, they do apply, just not always directly. I've come to realize the whole system is inherently flawed, and I think it's actually an opportunity for Blizzard, an amazing one, not to fix Mythic Plus, but to embrace that it's broken right now, and to solve the entire thing. So, today we're going to explain that, and you're going to help me pay the lads with today's sponsor, who I'm absolutely thrilled to say are Ridge. Look, I use my Ridge key case every single day, and I've been using it since like a year ago, before we even had a deal with them. I love it. It's one of those upgrades that you actually feel every single day of your life, and right now, their holiday deals are actually on. They're up to 40% off, and that makes them such an easy gift to give. So, here is the key case, right? It is slim, it is light, it is durable, it holds 6 keys. It keeps them together under the perfect amount of tension. You know what that means? You've got no key jangle, right? You don't have a key sticking into your leg in your pocket. There's a nice little clip in the back. It is so good. And also, I put my keys into it with a specific order and orientation, and that means that I always select the right key when I go to a door. And that's just one of life's nice little things. And then, of course, there is the Ridge wallet. Now, this thing's awesome. RFID blocking, light, hyper-functional, and now they've even got a MagSafe compatible version, and there's even an AirTag holder as well. And the point is, right, I mean, this is just the best wallet, like hands down. Ridge's range of attachments as well let you just customize the wallet to your exact needs, and the colorways that they have for all of their products look flipping gorgeous. And what I love about them is they're the perfect gift, because after using mine, well, I bought my dad one on Father's Day, and I've bought him his Christmas presents as well. They're awesome, up to 40% off using my link, and they're actually so confident that they give a 99-day money-back guarantee and a lifetime warranty. So when you buy, you know you're actually going to be supported. Check them out, they're awesome. Okay, what's wrong? Well, obviously it's a lot, and it starts with the first step. Deciding what to do. You see, delves cover early gearing in World of Warcraft faster than ever, so you'll probably only want to go into a Mythic Plus 6 or 7, right, and beyond. You won't have a key to start with, and starting a group is scary, especially if you're only beginning, so the obvious thing is to join a group. That kind of can't be done for most people. I mean, often you can't get into a group, at least not right away. It could take all evening, and it actually got so bad that there were in-game protests over just finding a key to do. Theoretically, those were aimed at Blizzard's class balance, but the deeper truth is people were protesting each other, right? Players are only interested in inviting meta specs, but there's a reason there. That does mean, though, that if you play something that isn't a meta spec, your acceptance rate just plummets. And the same goes if you're playing a DPS as well, right? Very few people are interested in playing tanks or healers at the end of the day, and for good reason. They do at least twice the work of a DPS. And even if you make your own group to skip the whole invite phase, you're sat there waiting on a tank or healer anyway. And the problem is worse again if you're actually doing keys that are appropriate for your Mythic Plus score or your gear level, and you're trying to improve yourself, because somebody who eclipses your score and item level will always take your spot. So you either suck it up and you play a meta spec, you learn to tank, you learn to heal, or you get lucky, and finally it's time to play. Or should I say, to roll the dice, because you might get a dream run, that'll go well, but it might just be hell. The tank pulls the first pack, but no kicks go out. A DPS dies. They blame the healer, they leave, and you're back to square one. All your time wasted. It could have taken so long to get into that group, and that's an Alt F4 moment. You're gone and you don't want to come back. And of course the thing here is you can't tell if your group's going to be successful. That's the root cause. Everybody who's played Mythic Plus has that scar. They've experienced doomed runs that have ruined their evening and set them back. People don't want it to happen again, so of course people will only invite the best players using the data they have. What is somebody's spec? What is their item level? What is their score? Now those all sound readily solvable, But that's kind of the problem. We're stuck here chasing the first order problems, but it's actually the foundations that are rotting. Is that just doomer talk? Well, let's try to fix them and we'll learn why. Fixing it without changing it. I mean, hey, step one, just balance it, right? Stop making meta specs, Blizzard. That's a very silly thing to do. I mean, there's an issue there. It's always impossible. There's always going to be a spec that is the best. Blizzard could crush the skill ceiling, raise the skill floor, homogenize utility, homogenize damage profiles, but there's always going to be something that's a bit better, especially with Mythic Plus's endless scaling, and if they squish everything to be the same, the game will just be bland, man. And that's just the thing with endless scaling. At some point, no matter how Blizzard balances it, one spec will be necessary to counter the extremes of scaling. A perfect example, the racial imbalance. At the lower levels, healers can just crush it and heal through certain dots. But you know what actually players are pushing up to something crazy like a 16? Well, the dots start to almost kill in a single tick. So the solution is to race change to a dwarf, of course for stone form, which is an instant self-dispel. That makes the dungeon actually possible in that context. Not just easier, possible, because they hit that hard. Now obviously that's not necessary to Mythic Plus 7, but it does kind of help, doesn't it? And so it slowly becomes the meta, and even where it's absolutely not necessary, as a player just playing regular World of Warcraft, you're going to feel it. Blizzard could make the meta less impactful, but there's always going to be a meta. Nobody solved it in gaming. As soon as people hit a wall, they will optimize who they invite. Step 2, let's just increase the amount of tanks and healers so that we get more runs happening. I mean, hey, if we bribe DPS to swap over, well, actually, we're bribing them. They won't have fun. So let's try to make the lives of support players a bit less hell. As an example, tanks. I mean, you guys bear all the responsibility to route the dungeon, pull the mobs, position the mobs, and you end up doing the lion's share of mob management. I mean, others could help, but you guys do it. Healers bear all the responsibility for health bars, so maybe let's fix that by lowering incoming damage, reducing dispels, scaling health bars, and tweaking mob packs. And you may think, great, that's fixed. But, not really. Do you remember this loading screen tip in the game? If you make it easier to keep your health bar above 0, but you don't change the difficulty of the dungeon, well, what are you going to do? You're going to have to make bringing the enemy's health bar down harder. And that's where the timer comes in. If tanks and healers end up having it easier, and DPS really is what defines a win or a loss, then, well, the DPS will need to do more damage. But how do you do more damage beyond that? Well, inevitably it leads to the tanks being forced to pull harder and harder, and that brings us back to square one. And if the game just was to say, no, if you pull 2 packs, you instantly die, that would be awful. So no matter what, with the current design, responsibility will always land on the shoulders of the tanks and the healers. That's just the way it is. Even if it's clearly, say, the DPS refusing to use their interrupts or their stuns. For as long as WoW's existed, death has been a healing problem, and that's just how healers feel, and that's why there's not a lot of them in the queue. Step 3 then, fix the group trust issue. Well, that's kind of hard because gets to the heart of a very long-running problem in World of Warcraft. You've probably seen this video from Folding Ideas that came out a while ago, and it highlights our main issues here. When you suck, you know, you're wasting people's time. And it doesn't help that Blizzard have designed Mythic Plus to double down on how much you've wasted people's time. I mean, there's the responsibility ratio. In a heroic raid, you can survive a few mistakes, but in a 5-man dungeon, oh, that's tight. You can't. There's only a few people. It's rude to suck in a Mythic raid, but it's much more rude to suck in a Mythic Plus. There's fewer people. Everybody's got more responsibility, and the penalty is way higher than just respawn and corpse run. And that brings me to the difficulty split. LFR is queued. You actually have guaranteed success. Normal is a step up, but it still is a cakewalk if you've got a few people who know the fight. Heroic, well, that does need more people to know the fight, but Mythic, well, that's an entirely different kettle of fish, right? Different game mode entirely. 20 players, fixed, locked to a single ID. It is almost unpuggable. Most people therefore cap out at Heroic because they look at Mythic and they will instantly know if that sort of gameplay is or is not for them. It's binary, you know. But not with Mythic Plus. It's the same system the whole way up. And this is where the problem starts. You finish gearing from delves or outdoor content, but your gear isn't finished. The game's reward system literally says, hey, you can get 2 more upgrade levels if you just get some gilded crests. Where are you going to get those? A Mythic raid? No, you're not going to be pugging those, especially if you're, say, a Delves player, and that's how you're gearing your characters. And the goal of WoW is to get more gear, so what's going to happen? Raid or Mythic Plus? Raid's a bigger time commitment, but I suppose Heroic is reliably a puggable thing, so maybe with that done, you're left with the game pushing you into Mythic Plus, the only place to go. Even Ian has said in interviews that he knows the Delves are dropping hero-geared people into 6s and 7s from Delves, but they haven't worked their way up, and they really struggle. So maybe the issue isn't actually with Mythic Plus. Maybe it's that these people are doing Mythic Plus. They shouldn't be. WoW shouldn't put them there. So here's the deal. This is an excellent talk, one of many, from marketing legend Rory Sutherland. And one thing that stuck with me is how we so often get trapped. We see a problem, we try to solve the problem directly, instead of imagining how to go around the problem or above the problem. Here's an example that he often uses: train journeys. Instead of trying to hyper-optimize the speed of the train journey by a few more minutes, how about you instead just try to make the journey a bit more pleasant? I mean, nobody's going to be absolutely mad if their commute is just a little smidge longer if the commute itself is a good experience. And the reason why this is important is because making a train go faster could cost hundreds of millions. In the UK, probably billions or trillions. And it's not going to guarantee success. It's an unknown engineering problem. But making the experience better? It's a way more known quantity. So let's bring it to Mythic Plus, lest you all start getting memories of Grimrail Depot. Instead of spending loads of time and effort balancing meta specs, and hey, do actually spend time to make the game balanced, obviously, but as we've talked about, that can never truly be fixed. Why not think outside the box? Here's what that kind of looks like. If inviting is a problem, instead of fixing the invites, skip the invites entirely. Make Mythic Plus a solo queue. That may seem insane, but there are natural breakpoints to cut that off. Maybe it's Mythic Plus 10 because that's where the affixes become fixed. Maybe you set up a rated queue from a +2 to a +10 because look, all that you need to know is, are the people I'm being mixed in with good at the game? Are they supposed to be here? Well, the matchmaking system can actually do that. If somebody is in your 10, you know they've at least timed a 9, and you're all going to have to get on with it anyway. Rather than an incentive for right-clicking, leaving party, hearthing away, and finding a new key, well, Blizzard could actually punish you by saying, you don't get into the queue, you're treating people badly. Maybe that begins to mend things. Now, the +12 and beyond, key-pushing meta-slave land that actually people love because it's fun to push things to the extreme. Well, that'll still exist. It'll be just like Mythic raiding is today, where if you're a Heroic raider, yeah, normal, LFR, normal through Heroic, that's all one big curve. But Mythic, everybody knows it's a different kettle of fish. That doesn't happen in Mythic Plus. With a system like this, well, guess what? It actually would. You should make solo queuing the default way for pug players. And what's vital is that the matchmaking is actually based on what the system knows people can do. You just need to design it well. So many other games have done this. Then there's the keys themselves. They've got to change. Maybe keys should just die, but for sure one thing needs to die, and that's depletion. What the hell is depletion? I mean, now that keys can manually be depleted, it's just that last layer of punishment that is stubborn and almost a bit sadistic. No other part of WoW punishes you for failure by setting your progress back. I mean, maybe the corpse run's a bit bad, but come on, that's peanuts to depletion. Depletion sucks. Removing that would reduce how goddamn miserable it can feel to fail. And we've all seen people's comments online. World of Warcraft makes them anxious and unhappy so often, even though they actively want to play the game because they fundamentally like it and they want to achieve their goals. And we've got another issue too. Long queue times for tanks and healers. We could try to get creative with that. I mean, tanks and healers are responsible for everything, while DPS are only responsible for their damage. How could we possibly rebalance this? Well, Blizzard kind of already knows how. They use Kiss Curse mechanics, and they can do that to make DPS players do things other than mash keys. Here's a great example. In Final Fantasy XIV, yeah, the other MMO, the devs saw the DPS players were just standing in the fire because, well, they could just get some more damage off and parse better. So to solve this, they added damage downs, as in, if you get hit, you'll do less damage, you'll get a debuff. And Blizzard, that's the point. You need to align incentives with the desired behavior, because with damage downs, the mistakes of a DPS player will hurt their DPS, the thing that they care about, not only just their health, the thing that the healer cares about. And that means that it's the DPS player's problem, not just the healer's problem. And that aligns incentives within the group. I mean, perhaps if you don't have a defensive ability up for a certain boss, maybe it stuns you, maybe you get a haste decrease, and that means that again, your incentives are aligned with your healer and your tank as a DPS player. So many specs already get tiny bonuses for interrupts. Why don't we take that and go radically further than ever before? Blizzard, the world is your oyster. You need to see outside of the prison you've locked yourself in, and you need to dare to try. But here's the thing, even that's not enough, because we all know what it's like when the worst happens, when you encounter one of those people, right? The people who know nothing, who deflect blame, who rage, the people that you could sort of say are the unteachables. Can we fix that? Can we teach them? I think the answer is no and yes. Yes and no. You see, World of Warcraft is awful at teaching people how to succeed in Mythic+. The community, me, we all say it. But that's actually not new. Just about no competitive games really do that. There's no Valorant University in the game that's proper. Player improvement comes from what folding ideas, as Dan Olsen rightly labels as paratext because of his delightfully wrinkly literary brain. Paratext is basically just external sources. If somebody wants to learn Mythic+, they can. They'll be tuning into the Podyssey and the Regular, just like how, yeah, you can find resources online and know, what do you buy in the shop in League of Legends? How does one even do a Valorant? The struggle, though, is that some people don't want to learn. Even if we laid out the resources, they wouldn't do it. So let's take another inspiration from Rory Sutherland and try to go around or above the problem. Maybe we'll even burrow beneath it. If our problem is that some people don't want to learn Mythic+, why would he bother trying to teach them? The solution is that people should not be playing Mythic+ if they in no way really want to and couldn't be bothered to learn. Nobody benefits from them being there, including them. Ian said in a recent interview that they want to keep incentives for people to graduate to group content. Look, Ian, I respect you, not an attack. I think you're just holding on to some old wisdoms, and that's totally fair and okay because, I mean, goddamn, the same for me. World of Warcraft's an old game. It's been around for such a long time. How do we even know what's right or wrong anymore? I've got to admit that's probably what keeps the dev team actually up at night. But here's the thing, I think in the current gearing system, delves scaling up to reward, I don't know, just shy of myth items from the vault, it could almost make perfect sense if you just let delves be really hard and have a proper progression track. I mean, yeah, it would be different, but delvers are going into Mythic+, and they're absolutely hating it. And that's wreaking havoc in the people who actually like Mythic+. So let's let people achieve their goals by doing the content that they like. Let's nudge people up their comfort zone within delves, rather than trying to kick them out of their desire zone into Mythic+, lured by gear. That doesn't make sense. They'll never enjoy it. They'll never learn it, even if we put all the time and effort in the world into making resources. Let's not throw people into the deep end of content they don't like. Either that, or perhaps rework gear. Who knows? If the gearing system somehow offered a satisfying way for somebody to reach Mythic +5, be happy with a dungeon as it is like that, and just feel that they could stop, that would be great. But that's not how WoW's gear is designed. And by now you'll have noticed a clear pattern. I'm not talking about, oh, this is what we need to do to evokers to fix the immediate problem. These are the big picture things, systems, incentives, not actually fixing Mythic+ itself. Why am I not trying to fix Mythic+ in a video about fixing Mythic+? Look, there's a reason for that. Mythic+ is good. When it works, it really works. When you're in lockstep with a group of people, maybe a pug, probably not, but whatever, it pushes WoW's excellent combat and class design to the limits. There's nothing else like it. And personally, it's not for me. That's actually okay. It might not be for you either. World of Warcraft has got plenty of things for me to like say raids. I love raiding, I always have. So Blizzard, don't gut Mythic+ or try to make some strange one-size-fits-all solution so that I can go and do it and gear up a character. Don't damage delves to force people into Mythic earlier, right? Don't do that. We need to go above the problem. We need to target the desire that causes the behavior that leads to the problem, that leads to all the symptoms that players feel. And to make Mythic+ itself better, I know you guys listen to Max, Jack, Podyssey, Dratnos and friends, all of them. They're your guys to go to for the deep specifics. But perhaps before you hit those details, consider this. Tanks are kinda too weak and imbalanced. The difficulty curve is really steep. Races being or feeling mandatory is really dumb. Getting 5 crests instead of 12 for a deplete is brutal. Depletes are brutal and stupid and needlessly sadistically punishing. People have already lost their time and not achieved their goal and not got as many crests. Some dungeons are fine, but others are a nightmare. There's a lot of difference there. But the number one complaint people have is other people ruining the experience for them. That's the number one problem. The number one reason why people can't actually play Mythic Plus when they want to. Because if you make the right changes, those problem players, the people who are just in Mythic Plus for gear without actually wanting to respect the game mode so that even if you try to train them, they won't listen, well, if the game lets them self-select out of the Mythic Plus player base, that will heal the ecosystem. People will slowly begin to have more understanding and willingness and faith that actually they can do a Mythic Plus and they won't get some random shithead who bricks their key and wastes their time. So Blizzard have an out here. Keep Mythic Plus as a beloved pillar of World of Warcraft endgame. Don't stress yourself in fixing its immediate problems, because if all of your effort goes there, we're not going to see the big picture. Think outside the box. See those problem players? You're not going to change them. It's not on you. You can't change them. You need to accept that. They're going to do what they enjoy. And that doesn't need to be your problem. That's your opportunity. Work out what they enjoy. Get them out of Mythic Plus. Okay, your game will be happier for it. Good luck. Ah, shit, that was so much. I don't even have a recommendation, so you know what? Just watch this next. It'll be great. Sure, go watch this. See you over there.